Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic group of guests. Bunch of indie publishers, artists, writers, creators. Awesome group. But please, let everybody know. Hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video. Let everybody know we're here. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host.
How's it going?
How's it going?
Yeah. I am Joe D. McFee, president of C Studios and the creator of Amazonia Primetime Saturday Night and AWF, of which Amazonia issue number 7 is live on Kickstarter as of right now.
There you go. Awesome. And our co-host.
Hey. C. Michael Lanning, independent artist, Matt Scribbler, and also panelist and show coordinator for Dispatches from Outside the Box.
Very nice, very nice. What's your discussion going to be about this week?
We're talking about aliens, UFOs, and all that this week.
Nice.
Seems to be fitting for nowadays.
Didn't they just recently do a panel discussion with that?
They did it. What's crazy is they did a debriefing. I've had this planned for a couple of weeks before that, so it just lines up. It's in the stars. What can I say?
There you go, Mr. Ozzy. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, my name is Ozzy Longoria. I've been doing comics for more than 20 years. I own Gemini Comics. I am doing the book The Sword and the Sorcerer and Doomsday TV.
Nice.
You can find me on all networks and stuff. Yep.
All right, cool. Mr. Marvin Wynn, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you? It's Marvin Wynn, writer of The Edge, coming straight out of Comicsburg. Edge is currently funding on Kickstarter.
Nice. What's up, Mike? Please introduce yourself.
All right. I'm Mike Dubisch. I'm an author illustrator. I've been active since the late 80s, and I am the co-founder of Forbidden Futures magazine.
Nice.
Hey.
Oh.
How you doing, Randy? Introduce yourself, sir.
Hey, everybody. I'm Randy Zimmerman. I've been an alternative and independent comics since the mid-'80s. Done just about everything in this market that you can imagine. Retailed for over a decade. Had my own newspaper publication that I circulated locally for over a decade. About a decade. And done a lot of other things. So right now I'm Arrow Comics 4.0. And working on a book about my wonderful COVID experience. So
Nice. See, Mike, I told you there was somebody on this panel who's been in it even longer than I.
It's a couple more years. Sounds like he squeezed in there a couple of years before I did.
Yep.
probably just a few. Yeah.
Just a few. Okay. All right. So, gentlemen, all right. So let me start it off with this. I was online, and Pops Van Zandt put up a very, very interesting question. He said, who is your favorite like old school indie publisher or creation or whatever book? And the top 2 is Spawn and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I quipped back. I said, hey, listen. I said, I don't consider Spawn or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to be indies. It says they've been around forever. That's a fact. But I consider them mainstream personally. But the other funny thing is that I think of those books and I don't think of them as old school because I'm so old I remember before them. So I don't know. It's a little strange. But what do you guys think? How do you guys define indie as opposed to mainstream? That's my question, right? So let's start out with the most sagacious man on the panel, Mr. Zim. What do you got to say?
The most what man on the panel?
Sagacious.
Okay. I think
that's a compliment, sir. That's a compliment.
All right.
What'd you call me?
Yeah, exactly. What'd you call me?
What?
Don't make me whip out my thesaurus. Hey, I think, and I don't consider this a dodge of your question, but it kind of is. I think both pigeonholes are long past due to be called old. You know, they're what is an independent book when you're making a living on it? and you're making money on it. What is a mainstream book when you're not making any money on it and you're getting paid a base rate for to do basically cog work? What is mainstream anymore? The mainstream numbers are matched or below the numbers that we used to do back in the 80s.
True.
What is a mainstream book, though? Well, I guess you could name a mainstream book anything that goes to the retailers and the comic shops, and an independent book is a book that's independently distributed. If you have to define those terms, I would rather not. Comics are comics. That's the way I feel about it.
Fair enough. Mike, what do you think about
it? I think it's pretty simple. The first issues of both were published independently, so they qualify as independent comics. They were created independently.
The first issue of Spawn was published independently?
Image Comics began as a group of artists who split off from the mainstream to create their own small independent publishing. I mean, the fact that their orders were high and they were mainstream artists, it wasn't an indie comic publisher that I was terribly interested in, and I was an indie aficionado, but I didn't deny that Image, when it began, was an independent comic book company. And it's still, by the general definition of anything that isn't Marvel and DC, is basically still generally considered an indie comic. But in this case specifically, both Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, absolutely Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, published as an indie, Black and White magazine, began the some sort of black and white independent explosion, especially of titles that have four somethings in it. But basically, yeah, I mean, Image started as indie. I can't remember the name of their company. Mirage, that was it. Mirage with Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, definitely indie. So, I mean, it's a boring answer to what's your favorite indie characters, but as would Hellboy, or as would The Boys, even. All of these have transcended their indie comics roots to the point of being a mainstream product. But if we're talking indie comics characters, just if the first issue was published independently, then that's indie to me.
I got you. But here's the thing, though, that you might have forgotten. Image started at Malibu, an already established publisher.
But Malibu would have been, all right, I didn't know that little specific detail of how they got off the ground like that. But to me, Malibu, unless Malibu was like at that time a subsidiary of Marvel or something, then Malibu would still count as, and I think I might be thinking of a different company. Malibu would still.
Yeah, Malibu got bought out by Marvel within a couple of years after that happened.
Yeah, but was Malibu funding Image while Malibu was owned by Marvel? In that case, yeah. And then it gets sketchy. And then we've got through that. Now we're talking that the true story is that Image was just another offshoot of Marvel. But I really don't think that's how it went down. I'm pretty sure it was more independent than that.
It was bought by Marvel later on. But
later on.
The Image thing came with Valentino and Rob having dinner with Chris Ord and everything, discussing on printing their books. So I would still say Image was still not to butt in, but still independent, using Malibu's resources more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
I think that definition has been blurred ever since the mid '80s when First Comics sprung out, or Pacific Comics sprung out, Eclipse Comics sprung out. As far as mainstream or independent,
those were all indie. Those were all indie publishers, though. They're absolutely indie publishers. How can you?
They were only indie publishers because they weren't Marvel or DC.
Right, because that's the thing with the definition is
that's what makes it.
When we refer to them as indie publishers, because you gotta remember, let's say Kamiko. I know Bill Willingham has said Elementals, the first issue sold 80,000 copies, right? Would you consider that an independent comic? Also, in those days, some of these publishers were paying page rates to their creators. Not all of them.
That doesn't not make it indie either. That doesn't make it indie either at all. At all. I've been getting page rates since I was 17 years old from indie publishers, and we're running out of comic book shops. Indie publishers pay page rates. You paid me page rates, JD. They were low. They were low, but they were rates. I could record it as income. I mean, no, that's definitely not the distinction. I mean, basically, yeah, Epic. Epic was not an indie comics line. It was a pretend. It looked at indie comics, prestige indie comics like Pacific and Eclipse, which were doing gorgeous stuff that blew away the mainstream. And they said, we want to do stuff like that. Cool. Back when cool people worked at Marvel, and they could say, hey, let's spin off our Epic Illustrated magazine. Let's do a whole Epic line, and we'll be like Pacific and Eclipse, and they did great books. But Epic was not independent. Any incarnation of Epic is not independent.
No, it was.
But of course, anything else, no matter how good the sales were compared to what they have today, no matter how professional the attitudes were with the payments, the fact that they were attracting the top of the field instead of sort of being training ground. I suppose to me, again, it's just to me that's just self-evident. So then the question really becomes, what about Image now? Can Image now be considered independent? What about a company like Charlton, which was not Marvel or DC, but was on every newsstand back when I was a kid? Never touched them then, but now I see them like a lot of nostalgia. Archie, another one. It's like, obviously these don't fall into the same category of independent. Neither does Hyperion Books, something that's owned by Disney. All right, even though they may be doing kind of indie style comic books, but we obviously can't call them indie. However, a term like alternative comics can perhaps still be applied to anything from Image to Hyperion so alternative may be
wouldn't consider term. Archie an alternative comic company.
No, I would not. It's neither indie nor alternative.
A little bit. Let's move on. Marvin, what are your thoughts on it?
So I think before you even answer the question, you have to define what is an indie now.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm asking for everybody's individual definition.
Right.
Like mine is, I got mine. Randy has his. What's your definition of it?
So if you say Marvel and DC or we'll consider owned mainstream, they're owned by corporations. So if you eliminate anything that's owned by a corporation, does everything else fall into like an indie status?
Well, I own a corporation. Well, I own an LLC.
I own a corporation.
When I say when you say corporation, a conglomerate. When you say this,
a large corporation,
right?
That was evil corporation.
Oh yeah, large corporation. All corporations are evil, like the umbrella corporation.
Large corporation.
How about a large media outlet? Yeah, if it's not owned by a large media outlet,
right?
That would define Valiant as mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that if they are owned by a large media outfit.
They are.
Are they? I mean,
but they're
owned by a very large conglomerate out of China.
Yeah. And before that, they were owned by Acclaim.
Well, I mean, and Valiant is but it did start as an indie, I believe, with Bob Layton and Barry Windsor Smith at the helm. And so that it began as an indie and became a property, a multi-million-dollar property that's changed hands several times.
Right. But then you look at an indie like Behemoth, they're owned by a small corporation. No. Mm-hmm. So
by a small corporation.
Yeah. Where do you?
What does that mean? I mean, someone is they're just dipping their toe into publishing. They normally, manufacture diapers or something.
It depends on where you draw the line at, I guess. I don't know. I mean, Turtles and was an indie. I mean, does an indie sell 1 million books? Like Spawn Blood and the beginning, Wildcats and Youngblood. They were selling millions of copies.
Why not? Why not?
I don't know. I think we take.
Well,
What the heck? I thought that was the time for me to shut the hell up.
That's the
I think when you have, if you have a scale, you've got Marvel and DC on one side and everybody else on the other side.
Right.
That just what makes sense to me, and then you decide on what is or isn't an indie. I mean, I don't think like everything's up in the air right now because we've got the same resources that all these other companies or what companies have now too. We can go to printers and get books printed. We can get books in the stores. So I mean, the line is different than it was before.
Absolutely.
I don't know what it is. No one's going to Kiko's and printing the book anymore, right?
I mean, just because the gatekeeper's down and the gates are down, and anybody on a no budget can get a nice looking book out there that's available to people. Again, that just still to me just says even more so that they're independent. That's all the more so. It means that we've got more tools, and it isn't such a nightmare anymore to get your book distributed.
Right.
The profits are still pretty slim, but you're less likely to be $15,000 in the hole with a bunch of crates of books that you're now living inside of.
Yeah, I just think it's Marvel and DC and everybody else. That's just how I feel about it. They're tipping the scales to their own end with their thumb on the scale, and then everyone else is fighting for the rest of the pie.
They got more than a thumb on that scale.
We got
but I mean, but who's? I mean, but
30 years.
I mean, it's the basic. It is true that as soon as an indie publisher, like for instance, I don't know, Boom, starts licensing stuff because they think that if they invest this much money in a known license, they say, for instance, Ninja Turtles, that their sales will go up, that their prestige will go up, that they will no longer be perceived as an indie publisher just because they're publishing G.I. Joe, just because they're publishing, but these are just licenses that they bought. That's still the publisher is still maybe considered an indie, and again, it really just depends what is the origin of the characters.
Right. But
G.I. Joe was never independent, never could never be considered, but it's still a license that gets handed around, passed around, to different publishers, I believe.
Well, Mike, hold on. Let Marvin, were you done with your point? Or
yeah, we can hit both. This way.
Ozzy, what are your thoughts on it?
I think an indie, for me, this is my own personal opinion. It has many elements. Like first, it has to be money. You have to have money, reach, and popularity on or art. That's what makes an indie. But you can transition from being an indie to a mainstream and then go back to the same. You say an example of Ninja Turtles or Spawn. Both are started as an indie because they have money to invest and they reach a point that they went mainstream, and then now they went back to being indies. It's like a malleable thing. You can go up and down. For example, let's say my book, still an indie, but it could reach like I don't know. They can make another movie based on my comic book, and then become mainstream. So it's all about money and talent, because also indies. Well, some indies, they do have great talent, but most of them they don't, and that's one of those things that also influences on that makes you go into mainstream.
I don't know where you get that from, Ozzy. You're surrounded by a bunch of great creators. That's all.
No, well, of course, but I've seen some bad comics.
No, of course, we all have. We've all been there. Mr.
You
Lanning.
see bad comics even from the so-called echelon of the industry, Marvel and DC. They crank out some trash too.
Yeah, they do, but they do put
just say
some good quality too. Some.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say some. I say a majority of it. You know, like I said, I'm a Sturgeon's Law guy. 95% of everything is crap. It's our job to crawl into the 5%.
95.23.
Oh, go ahead, Michael, please.
I would say tax brackets, maybe. But I think this is all geared by the man to make us fight amongst ourselves on what Indian mainstream is. Because as long as we're content in fighting about that, I think it's right. I think the lines are blurred. Somebody said it. A couple of people said it. The lines are blurred now. Mainstream between indie, but to me, when I think of indie, it's creator controlled, not necessarily creator owned, but creator controlled. You can do whatever you want with your book, and it can go out. Also, another thing that's also is going to separate an independent comic from mainstream comic is shelf space. How much shelf space are you getting on those books? Because if you say the mainstream, they'll take up the shelf space just to smoke you out, just to choke you out, and you're not going to have the funds to do that kind of thing. So, it's iffy. It teeters. Today's indie, tomorrow's mainstream. So,
all right, fair enough. What you got, Joe?
I just feel this. I feel this way. I'm about to become Rush Limbaugh in a room full of liberals, about to get ran out of town. About what I'm about to get ready to say here.
Go for it.
Bring it on.
First and foremost, we're all publishers, and this whole idea of indie alternative and all these other incarnations of setting yourself apart is just poor marketing at this standpoint. Because if you follow the history, and I could be wrong with this, Randy, but if you follow the history, there was times where companies were locked out. The little guy was locked out because we couldn't afford printing, thousands of books at a time, and there was no such thing as print on demand and all these other things. Once that went away,
you weren't allowed on the spiral rack. There were companies that were denied newsprint, even though they could afford it. Yeah.
So once all of that goes away, and it did for the smaller guys, at that point you became equivalent to any other publisher out there. However, a lot of those creators and a lot of those companies held on to those titles of alternative and indie. Why? Because they felt more comfortable marketing themselves in that form of fashion. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stay in that term. That's the reason why everybody's kind of frowned on mainstream. Because why? Everybody wants to be mainstream. Heck, I want Amazonia to be, in a household name. That would be great. Think about all the revenues and stuff that could come just from that alone. But yet, you have to understand that as you grow, you have to grow into it. However, by marketing yourself as one thing can stunt your growth in that process to becoming mainstream. Reason why, people like JD consider Ninja Turtles. I don't consider Spawn main. I'm throwing Spawn to the wayside because that's a whole different argument dealing with Image 90s. Image 90s, I look at them in a whole different way. But Turtles started out as a small guy.
Yes.
They got toy deals and everything, and they grew into a mainstream IP. Does that mean that they're no longer indie? Not really. It depends on if Eastman and Laird consider themselves indie. That's who really makes that determination one way or the other. Whoever controls the marketing aspect of that IP controls that aspect. So, fighting over what's indie and what's not, to me, is fruitless. It's more along the line, what does it take to become mainstream? And what does it take for your IP to become a household name at that point? And that's kind of like my opinion on that question as a whole here. And like I said, it's now, if you want me to leave, tell me now.
The fuck up? No. Come on.
I think if you strictly define the terms,
right.
The only mainstream company out there is Archie, because they're the only ones in the grocery stores. You know, the Ultimate line from Marvel might have been mainstream because they were in the Walmarts. But the rest of this stuff has all been specialty publications aimed at a specialty market, which is the direct market, or directly to consumer, which is why we have crowdfunding today.
Right. But then how do we categorize something like Captain Underpants, which is primarily in Barnes and Nobles and bookstores?
You would almost consider them mainstream. Yeah, I would consider them mainstream.
They outsell every other comic.
Yes, they do. That's what I'm saying.
And we didn't know that until a few months ago when Scholastic actually started talking numbers.
Right.
Before that, they were just books on a shelf, you know.
I'm gonna post it. I've been ignoring the chat a little bit. So
time to play the game.
Time to play the game. Yo, come on, bro. You said yourself you were taking the night off. Come on. Marvin's book, The Edge is Killing It. Pick it up. Yes, that's a great book. I already played it. What am I talking about? Matt Wagner and Mage. There you go. Times taste definitions change. If we use today's definitions to classify what came in the 50s and 60s, then Del Golke would be considered indie along with EC Comics, and that is not the truth, when they were selling equal numbers to the other big companies of the time.
If not better.
Yeah, I think EC was outselling all of them. So
yeah.
Very good point, Mr. Rosario. I like it. Argo, maybe you can use the distinction of publicly company with shareholders. Okay, fair enough. It says, I don't care about the mainstream. I care about the money. Cerebus was not mainstream, but Sim got paid. Sim made a lot of money, and he blew it. I mean, he blew through it, through a lot of it. For myself, I mean, I find it interesting. The reason I even brought it up is because, what is my big issue isn't that whether or not Spawn or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are indies. My problem is that we only talk about Spawn and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I want to hear about Warlock 5. I want to hear about Elementals. I want to hear about Nexus. I want to hear about, The Realm, Captain Paragon, Fem Force. I want to hear about these other things. I'm tired of TMNT. God bless them. Don't get me wrong. I respect Laird and Eastman and everything they've done. But I want to hear about these other books. I don't want to hear about Spawn. Everybody knows Spawn. It's tired. I'm sorry. I respect Todd. He's a fantastic businessman, great artist, good story guy. But I'm like, I'm like, whatever with that stuff. I want to hear, about everybody else's books. I want to hear about Unstoppable Comics. I want to hear about Randy's history of comics. That's really what I want to see from Randy. Although his
I just got to get this book done, and then I'm right back on the history book.
Yeah, Paragon. I'm just saying.
What happened?
Paragon is actually worth it.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh well, thanks. Appreciate it.
But the best we could do is we can give you Savage Dragon. How's that? Does that work? Give you Savage
Dragon. I don't want Savage Dragon.
But you know what? Eric Larson is mad cool though, because he has allowed other smaller publishers to actually use Savage Dragon in their book.
Oh yeah,
it was actually kind of cool. That's not something you see all the time. Because I can't imagine walking up to Mike Mignola and saying, "Can I borrow Hellboy for an issue or two?" Right? Without him being like, "Can I smack you?" Right? So yeah, so that's just nice. Mm-hmm. All right.
He's been pretty liberal with the fan art as far as Hellboy is concerned. So who knows? You never know. It doesn't hurt to ask.
True. But like I said, I do know Eric Larson has loaned out Savage Dragon to a few small publishers and just let them do whatever, which is mad cool of him. Yeah. And I know Dave Sim, I think, has an open door policy with Cerebus. I think he said something like if you write him, he'll let you use him. He'll let you use Cerebus in your book, which is kind of cool. So one day I got to take him up on that offer. Mr. McFee, you're up, sir. Ask your question. I've already stirred up enough bullshit.
No, I'm about to stir this pot even more so because you said out of your own mouth you want to hear more about other people's independent works here.
Yes.
So with that being in mind, what are you doing within your fan base to get them more rabid where they actually going out on like YouTube or Twitter or Facebook to talk about your work, for people to start talking in that aspect of like, hey, have you catch the next issue of Oswald or Paragon or whatever book there is, because that to me is where I think the problem truly lies at. It's not about what Marvel and DC is doing, because why? Marvel and DC got the money to do it. Smaller guys have to rely on our fan base to start talking, and we have to figure out a way to enable them. So what are you guys doing to enable that?
Fair enough. Mike, you're up.
In a way, I feel like an intruder into this question. I long ago realized that I simply did not have the time or energy to be myself an independent publisher, and all of my efforts are done in conjunction with someone who began as a client who I met at Comic-Con, and he had been asking for the chance to publish a project that I had in progress, and I sort of waffled for a little while and then came up with a new concept that included that, which was to produce this regular anthology magazine, which eventually was titled Forbidden Futures. Well, I thought I could call it copies next to me. Apparently, there they are. And then what this has turned into is a venue for my illustration and for my comic work. That is.
Mike, show those. I want to see those.
Yeah.
Those look awesome. I've yet to order any, but I have to.
Yeah, you do have to. So this is an all comics issue. So basically, what we're working on, right from the beginning, what we've done is a subscription model. And what we're working on now is, rather than just a subscription model for the magazine now comes out more or less yearly. It turns out that working with all the different writers, because that's what we did. We give my artwork to other writers, and they write their stories around the artwork. And it looks like we've got David Gerald for the next issue. The previous issue, an earlier issue, we got Rudy Rucker. We regularly get Cody Goodfellow, John Skip, etc. Anyway, so we work with a lot of writers. Some of them are easier to work with than others. And so the magazine ended up getting slowed down to once a year. But what we're doing is filling it in with what we're calling the Forbidden Futures Book Club, which is hitting people right in the nostalgia feels for the whole science fiction book club thing. We are putting out, like I said, we're putting out Forbidden Futures. We're putting out Forbidden Futures Presents, where we work with single authors. This is Forbidden Futures Presents. This isn't actually one of the books where we work with a single author. It's just one of the other projects that Oddness is doing. And fortunately, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, fortunately, I have to do very little other than provide artwork. And most of the artwork is in some way repurposed from earlier stuff, or just stuff that I've been doing for fun for many years and stockpiling. So we're going to be reissuing Weirdling, which I first published in 2007 and first started in more like 94 or something. So Weirdling will be finally getting a nice deluxe edition. Mystery Meat, which we put out about 8-9 years ago or something like that, will be getting a new edition, hopefully in time for Comic-Con, this is the current one. In other words, I guess for me, my answer was find somebody who was committed to work with, who was committed to promoting my work, and handles pretty much everything for me. He's my agent, he's my publisher, and in creating this sort of this legitimate book publisher by offering a pro rate and pursuing some real names in the industry. We've created a genuine, legitimate book company, and so now that I'm getting into writing my own prose fiction and illustrating it, I sort of, rather than having the chore of finding a publisher and trying to market myself in that way and market this product, I just schedule it and put it out, and I know it'll go out to about 300 subscribers right away. So it's not a huge audience. We've got some ideas for growing it. We are going to run a Kickstarter for Weirdling that will include a lot of the subscription packages that we offer through Forbidden Futures Book Club, and hopefully that'll bring in some more people. We get and again, just we keep chasing those whales and getting people like David Gerald, Rudy Rucker. We're printing a public domain piece by Philip K. Dick, so we'll be able to put his name on our magazine, and got a few other big names coming down the pike that we're pursuing. So hopefully we're just going to keep building our audience that way with just legitimacy and quality product.
Nice. Marvin, what do you got?
Yes, sir. So I think your best option is open lines of communication with anyone who is willing to communicate you if they read your book. So I've found that spending a lot of time on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram talking with people who are interested helps them to have a connection with you, and then they're willing to share that information with other people. I mean, I've gotten multiple second looks based on someone else posting something about the book. I mean, yesterday I think I got like $1,500 on the Kickstarter because someone shared it with their backers. So I think that's the way to go, is communication. But that's life goal. Communicating is always going to be what's going to open up those lines to get you more people interested into your product.
All right, that sounds good to me, sir.
I mean, that's why I put all my information inside of the book, all my contacts.
Nice. Ozzy, what are you doing, man?
Well, the same as Marvin. Basically, just talk with your customers, learn from other publishers like you guys. I'm pretty new at this, selling my own comics, because I always work for companies, and so I'm still learning to do that. I'm also in a group where a lot of creators just share their stuff, which is very good, because we share our campaigns, and then we make money that way, and it's like very healthy communication there. You learn, they send ideas, and oh, let's try this, and we try that, and it works or not. But yeah, communication is basic.
All right, cool. Mr. Lanning?
Is it my turn? I thought it was Randy's turn.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry about that, Randy. Yes, it is. The guy in the bottom square always gets left out. Sorry, Randy.
That's all right. I'm really in a state of flux because of a couple of different situations that's happened to me, and I'm more in a creating mode right now than a marketing mode. But that's just the way it is. In a couple of months, it'll shift, and I'll be focusing more on marketing. But right now, I just love doing podcasts like this one and the two that I do, and talking about comics, and the stuff that I'm doing is part of that. So that's really my main promotion right now. A couple months it'll shift once I have a product to promote again, or I decide what to do with the products that were supposed to be promoted before. So
Cool. All right, Mr. Lanning, now it's your turn.
Oh man, I don't have anybody else to put to. Well, as for me, it's what I have right. Yeah, right. As for what I have right now, most of the stuff that I've handled, as far as comics and what's been printed, has been other people's stuff. So I haven't. The best I can do is post pictures whatever the case, on Facebook. But I'd like to try to stay in the public eye, doing this kind of show, doing dispatches on Tuesday, showing up on Zimcast, whatever the case is. But I do also notice that one thing is you could post finished art on Instagram or Facebook, and then you could post half finished stuff, sketches and things like that, and you get more interaction with the sketches and stuff than you do with the finished art. It's almost like the finished art just kind of gets passed over. So that kind of helps promote what you're doing. I guess people kind of see that as bones, and there's something about that sketchy look that really attracts people anyway.
Yeah,
or
I love that.
I've noticed the same thing. So speaking of independent publishers and the line, blurring the line. So I was paid by Edgar Rice Burroughs to illustrate a project, but once it was finished, it was clear that they were happy to just let the webcomic sit there for any of their webcomic subscribers. And there had been some talk that some of the Tarzan strips were getting reprinted by Dark Horse very slowly, and my writer basically felt that he couldn't possibly wait long enough. So he entered into an agreement with Edgar Rice Burroughs and sold his collection of ancient coins and put out I Am a Barbarian as a prestige format collectible book. It looks terrific. I have been sharing the full color finished pieces for years on my page with all the information about the title, the publisher, etc., what this is. And then, so to help kind of build up some interest in the final product, I've been sharing pencil pages, sketch pages, and my favorite part, which very few people had actually seen, the uncolored black and white original art. And yeah, the response is across the board so much more positive, so much more interest than from posting the finished stuff, right up to the point of people being like, I really need to buy this book, as opposed to, cool, Mike, so they love it. People love, and in fact, and what's really funny is, I mean, stuff that's like so rough that if I came across it loose, I might just throw it out, just scribbly stuff. Right. And even that stuff just goes over so well. People love seeing the bare bones, like you said.
Yeah.
I like to watch videos when they sped them up and then they.
Oh yeah.
Drawing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Or like Jim Lee when he's drawing, like just mix it. I can learn a lot from that.
I like watching Olivia. Oof, that lady. She's incredible.
Okay. Does she do them? I know her work, but
Oh yeah, no, I mean stuff is beautiful. I mean she's what, in her 70s?
Yeah, she's got to be.
She's still killing it. I mean, like she hasn't aged a day artistically. I mean, she's always been on point, and she's still on point. I mean, that lady stuff is incredible. Hold on, let me put out something from Story Comic. It says evening all, and that's great advice. Networking and communication. There it is. All right, Mr. Joe. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to answer your question, right?
Yeah, I'm about to say, it's like you pull the host privilege at this point. I don't have to answer.
No. I'll answer the question. Look, it's much the same with everything. I mean, I'm doing the same thing Marvin's doing. I'm reaching out to other creators. I hold this show, right? I reach out to other creators. I try to get together with them. It says, we share posts. The one thing that I found that worked a lot on my last campaign was when we would share campaign posts. And that was the thing that I think that really helped put me over. And that's going to be something I'm going to pursue heavily on my next campaign. See how far that takes me. Because I think that was the best thing, is like you basically just telling your fan bases, hey, listen, go check out this other guy's campaign. You might enjoy it. And they did the same thing for me. And that worked very well for me. And I would advise that to anybody. Reach out. There's literally hundreds of campaigns running concurrently with yours, so you can go out, and if you find find a few campaigns that align with yours. If you're doing the superhero comics, you may not necessarily want to go to the furry, porn comic to advertise against. There might be a crossover somewhere, but not not that great. But if you find the other superhero books, you start cross promoting with those guys, that might help you out quite a bit. Yeah. So Mr. Lanning, you're up.
Oh boy, so I'm gonna cut. I think Joe wants to answer it, huh?
Yeah, I don't get the answer now, so it's like, okay.
Oh no,
move the line.
I skipped right over Joe. Yeah, answer your own question.
Okay. I was like, everything that I heard so far is like, communicating with other creators, but the point of the question was communication to those who actually buy. And the way that I normally do it is either through like the newsletters that I have, the show that I run from the Desolate Small Press Publisher. I would actually gear shows where, hey, audience, come in, ask me anything. Let's talk. Get to know me. I would do short subject, film like short subject videos where I'm up here, like, even with this past weekend, I did a quick little, here's the comics that I picked up this weekend. This is why I like them, or here's a comic book review that I normally would never review. This is what I think of it. What do you think? And we'll get into conversations that way, and that brings them in. So when you start talking about your stuff and they like it the same way, and they say, it's like, hey, can I go ahead and post it? You go ahead and say, yes, go ahead and do so. Because you want to establish that relationship where they feel comfortable. Like when people send me fan art, that goes directly on the company website. Why? Because I have a fan art gallery there. I want to show people's engagement. I want to encourage that engagement. I want to encourage that person to start talking about what I'm doing. That's the way that you have to start thinking to get more mainstream. I mean, yeah, you might get into like the whole dizziness of, the uber fandom and kind of knocking people down a little bit of a peg because they could, talk to you directly. But beyond that, it's just like they got to get to know you. You got to get to know them, and if they like what you do, and they doing sketches and doing all this other stuff, highlight it. Get them start to talking, and that way, if they feel like they can start talking about it, they will go out to their social media and start posting. It's like, these creators love my artwork. That goes a long way to getting somebody else interested in your stuff. You'd be surprised. But that's my answer for that question here. I was just wondering if anybody else did the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's what I said when I responded. It's about communicating with your customers and your fans. I mean, you do a lot of that at cons anyway. I mean, I spent 5 minutes talking to somebody when they come, whether they're buying anything or not. I mean, I wanted to get them, and I try to get them to sign up for the mailing list if they're not going to buy anything. So I mean, you have to have those lines of communication. That's why, like I said, these shows like this or like that, or other YouTube communities where once someone gets interested in something, it's infectious and they will spread it.
True. I mean, for myself, I use like my newsletter, which we put, Daphne and I both put out regularly. So that's the main line to communicating with the fans. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody else does the same. Mr. Lanning, you're up.
All right. Okay, so I'm kind of, in a way, I'm kind of piggybacking Joe here, but so should you, if you pay people to do your work, if you pay an artist or a writer, do you expect them to promote your book? Should you expect them to promote your book?
Marvin, you're up.
So when you say promote, what are you meaning that they're going off on their own and creating? I mean, even Facebook posts, pushing your Kickstarter, pushing even going on shows or interviews, whatever the case is, pushing your book. Right. I think it's. I mean, like most of the time, I'm the one to be the front man for that kind of stuff, and I'm going to post something that they'll share or they'll like or they'll communicate with. Mark does do some of his own promotion, and I think it makes sense as a creator on a product that you want to see that product do well because that gives you more work. Like if we work together on a book and it doesn't sell, then guess what? I probably won't be contacting you anymore for you to do any work for me. So I think it makes sense for someone if they worked on a book to
not say go out and do their own promotion, but to help push some of the stuff that you're posting, or if they're at a convention, maybe they have copies of the books with them.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's a way, because I think that this came up a while ago, and someone said they don't do it if they worked on it. If it's not their book, they said I'm not promoting it.
Interesting.
Well, how about you? In your personal opinion, do you think they should? You expect them to, or?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I would expect. I would say that it's to your own benefit of your own work to be seen. If you're helping to push out there that you're saying that, okay, I want more work, so I want to show the last book I worked on. You don't want to just sit on it and say, well, I'm done with that, on to the next one, because there might not be a next one if people don't know that you're doing something. And if you want to come with me on my journey, then the more you promote, the more you sell, which means more work comes your way.
Nice. Ozzy, what do you got?
It's in the contract. No, I was kidding. No,
10 impressions a week, right?
Yeah.
But I do talk to them, and I say, well, if you promote the book or share links or whatever, I'll give you free books, and you can sell them and make money out of that, or give them away, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I talk to them, and it's not really promotion for me. They can promote themselves, just like, I don't have to tell them that, but yeah, I mean, I do expect a little help. I mean, at least it's for their own benefit, for everybody's benefit. So, but yeah, I do tell them that.
So when you pay an artist, you're not only expecting the art, but you also kind of expect them to have that promotion too, or?
Like I said, I do expect, but if they, I got some artists, they get angry. So goodbye. I'm never gonna hire you again.
Yeah.
And well, no, actually, I do hire a lot of rehire them, but again, it's like trying to explain them that it's for their own benefit, so they have to somehow promote themselves. And I give them images or stuff like they can post. I mean, they can post whatever is their work, but yeah.
All right, gotcha. Randy, what do you have?
I pretty much echo what Marvin said. I'd want my talent to echo or to promote their own material, to the best of their ability. I'd want them to let their fan base know where their work can be found, and helping to promote as much as they want the property. I also like Ozzy's suggestion about giving them extra copies for helping you out. So I think that's a really good thing. That's a really good suggestion.
It is. Mike, what do you think? What are your thoughts on it? Do you expect all your writer ads to help you out?
All right, well, first of all, obviously, I've got both perspectives on this. So as an illustrator, I, of course, love to be able to share what I've just done and remind people that I'm keeping busy. This is the quality of my work. If you hire me, this is the quality of work you're going to get. And hey, fans, from Wizards of the Coast, from Palladium Books, from wherever I picked you up, hey, I'm still producing. I'm not retired. I'm doing tons of artwork. And my arrangement with Forbidden Futures is that I'm not supposed to share too much of what I'm doing, so that we're publishing exclusive content when it comes out to give it more value. But in most cases, I'm able to share at least some of what I'm working on while I'm doing it, and certainly once it's aged a little bit, I'm free to share as much as I want, and it's all to my benefit as much to the publishers. I think more me. But like I said, specifically, say, for instance, this I Am a Barbarian project, I'm recycling all kinds of old pencils, original art to share, and it's resulting directly into sales for his book. That being said, the guy's so cool. He's the the indie publisher end of it is starting to send me checks right away. So it's paying off for me right away anyway. But I'd be doing it whether or not. Whenever it was the Creeps, I never got another dime for Creeps or even a thank you for it. But I always shared what I had from the Creeps and from any other small press publisher as much as possible over and over and over again. So on the publishing end, yeah, we hate it when our writers don't support the publication. For God's sakes, we're putting out this prestige format magazine, really showcasing their artwork in a beautiful way. We keep the website updated. We sometimes do readings of the stories. We're promoting the shit out of these authors. And some of them are fantastic about reciprocal promotion, and others, it's just nothing. It's just a void. And yeah, you better believe the ones that show us a little help and promotion are the ones who are going to be more likely to hire again. Simple as that. I understand apathy. Sometimes this stuff comes out and you just don't want to think about it. You know, I know it's that way with art sometimes. You know, sometimes by the time I'm done with the piece, I never want to see it again. And sometimes have other baggage with it. And I imagine it's sometimes that way with stories. But hopefully not. Hopefully you're happy with what you've done and you're excited about what you're seeing printed. And if so, I definitely expect you to share it with your followers and let people know. It's just good for you. It's really good for us. And do it by linking back to the Facebook page too. You know, don't just, you know, if we give you a free code so that you could give to your fans for, you know, to let them in to read your story for free. Don't just put it on your Facebook page. You know, make it something people have to write. We get their email. You know, do all that kind of stuff. Interact, and treat your work as value. After all, we paid a per way. I mean, I didn't personally. Unfortunately, it doesn't come out of my pocket, but I do get to hear about it. So we pay a per word rate. And by the way, for any writers out there, if somebody asks for my fiction on 800 words or under, please don't hand in 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 word stories. Because our goal with Forbidden Futures was that I do the artwork at my leisure. We hand the artwork to writers, and they're supposed to write me a short, easy to lay out story with the existing artwork. So if I get instead a 4,000 word story that's not based on my artwork, now the magazine becomes a lot of work for me because I've got to actually illustrate the story in order to make the next publication date. So anyway, just a little note, writers, follow instructions, please. And yeah, definitely please promote the work when it gets published.
No 50,000 word manuscripts.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys.
Hold on, let me put out this is from Dan Chen. If an artist wants more work than promoting the issue motivates the publisher to put out another issue with them. The publisher can't continue the book at a loss, even if they like the artist's work. Very true.
But on that case, what if we're talking about an artist that doesn't need your work? So would it be stipulation to put into a contract that is promoted? That's where you gotta wonder. Because what if they don't need your work? Should you still expect them to?
So like an indie publisher scrapes together enough money to buy an Alex Ross cover or an Art Adams cover, are Alex or Art superstars expected to promote the book?
Yeah.
Sure hope they would.
Well, Joe can answer the question.
Yeah, let's hear what Joe.
Joe's hired some superstars.
Yes, and I'm sitting up here just waiting for my turn.
Mm-hmm.
If the answer to the question that C is putting out there, you might not like the answer to it because no, I don't. And this is the reason why I don't. Because on the business side of things, when you have worked with an upper echelon artist or an upper echelon writer, they have their own fan base. You're hiring them based upon that fan base. their work speaks for themselves. So whatever money that you pay, you're getting top quality. Now, if you want that personal endorsement, some of those people are going to come back and say, I need to get paid for that. That has to be specified, and they have to get paid for it. Now, with some of the non-known ones, I still don't expect it from them, but at least I put the project in a way where they are part owners of that work for that issue. Even though they don't have a copyright, I don't stop them from selling it. They could come to me and be like, hey, can I get 20 issues? It's like, here. That's like, well, how much do I owe you? Don't worry about it. If you sell it, that's your money. And they look at me strange, like, why is it my money? It's your work in that book. You're doing me a favor by helping me distributing it and selling it. That goes a longer way for me than for it to set in a warehouse or on a shelf somewhere not getting looked at. It's a matter of having your creative staff understand how much involvement and how much they are really a part of that team that makes up that creative staff. And going back to what Argo Comics states, that does not sway me one bit if they promote or not. Why? Because if you have an artist that promotes the hell out of the book, but yet is 3 months behind deadline, they're done. I'm sorry. I can't work with you at that point. Going behind deadline, not following instructions, that will kill your career faster than not promoting. And where you at as far as the audience base is concerned, as far as how much of an audience you actually have, it's not expected. And if you're upper echelon, guess what? By the time you get paying for the artwork, and then you add that, you're about to add another $2,000 to $5,000 just for them to talk about. It's not worth it at that point. So you have to know where everything lies at and where everything goes. And working with Greg is a great guy. He gives me a decent rate for his artwork, and we pass people, customers to one another. So
Greg who?
Horn.
Okay, there you go.
Greg Horn. Even though he no longer owns the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
People come to my booth, they see his artwork, they buy something. Sometimes we walk them over to his booth. He signs it right then and there, and they look at his stuff and they buy stuff from him, and vice versa. Once he sees so many, he starts sending people to me. That's how that partnership is supposed to work. That their work is just as much as theirs as it is yours for when it comes to that IP. You need one another, but in the bigger scheme, I don't expect them to upper echelon people to promote. I don't expect lower echelon people to promote unless they have that understanding of all the extra benefits of promoting. It's just as much as their work as well.
Cool. Well, I've worked with a lot of different artists, and I usually don't expect them to promote. Some of them do, which always surprises me, and is always a lot of fun because a lot of the artists that I work with are from overseas. So I'm like, they don't have big fan bases here. Although one of my artists has been able to get our stuff published in their country from some of their independent publishers. They've contacted me and they've cut me a check, and I've allowed them to print their stuff in their country. It was kind of cool. And, I'd like to experience more of that because that's always nice getting money from, it was like finding money. So that was always a good thing. But yeah, I don't ever expect the artist to do it. And yeah, if you do expect it, I think it is something that should be going into the contract. And that's something that needs to be discussed beforehand. Especially if they have a huge fan base, then you might want to mention it. You'd be like, hey, listen, would you be cool with this? And obviously be relaxed about it. Maybe like 1 or 2 tweets a week, not, nothing crazy. Because you don't want them to be like, look, I'm doing this work for you. I'm charging you X amount, and then they're just going to look at it and say, well, I'm going to just charge you even more. I'm going to charge you double. I'm going to charge you whatever, because it's just extra work for them. So that's how I see it. Mr. Lanning, how do you feel about it?
Almost like a common courtesy. Mm-hmm. to not necessarily push, but yeah, definitely promote. Like, because I do agree for somebody who's on my level, is that to promote somebody is to see more work come out. But I have seen people, I have heard writers and indie companies make the statement before that, yeah, such and such is not that great. They don't sell books or they don't sell covers, but I'll always get a cover from them because they're big time promoters. So it's really
Right.
But should you expect it? You are paying somebody for their work. If you're going to expect them to promote, you're probably better off paying for it. So,
yeah. One thing I found is that I have promoted some artists' work so much that they actually, when I contact them, they produce the work very fast for me because I think they see there's a benefit by me promoting them because they get work from other places by them, working with me in that fashion. So, I found that interesting. That's within the last few years that's been happening. So
a little bit of courtesy and forethought and consideration of somebody who's trying to struggle in this business goes a long way, all the way around for artist and writer, producer, publisher, whatever the case is. So,
exactly. Now, we got a lot of people with a lot of books going on, so I'm going to start pulling up campaigns so we can start going through everybody's campaign, right? Now, but before I go to anybody, I'm going to pull up this campaign. Regular co-host or normal guest here. This is Rosario's campaign, JD. So please, this is Storm Chasers, great book. Go check it out. He's selling a bunch of stuff. So go through the campaign. I backed this one, so I encourage everyone here. Jay's not here to promote his stuff, so I figured I'd just give a little quick shout out. So, all right, there's that one. And hold on, somebody start talking. Damn it! It takes me a minute to pull.
What was the goal for that?
36.
3600.
36,000?
No, 3,600.
Yeah.
600. Yeah, he's got 1 through 8. So
Yeah. No, he's gonna make it. He's more than halfway there. So,
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Ozzy.
Yay,
Yeah.
Ozzy. Yay.
Yes.
Well, this one is doing really good, actually. So I'm very happy. We have a cover by Simon Beasley, it was insane that we got him. We did actually an Indiegogo too, and it was successful too. In this case, the director couldn't help us promote it. Speaking of promoting it, because he's a little sick, so he couldn't do it. Simon helped a little bit. I wish he could help a little more. Simon, please help us. We are having 3 different covers for this one: a holofoiled, sketch cover, and the regular cover. We're getting T-shirts. This is the actual T-shirt that I'm wearing, and it has the cover.
Hold on. Let me pull you up, Ozzy.
Okay, hold on. My cat's on my lap. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basically the same cover with our
Nice.
names. And we have many other things like prints. That's the sketch cover. It's really cool. He did 2 versions. That's how professional he is.
So, okay, let's say I've never seen Sword and the Sorcerer. What is the Sword and the Sorcerer about?
It's basically the story of a prince who that's the movie. We're doing the sequel, like basically what happens a couple weeks later after they defeat the bad guy. And so we continue the story, we expand the universe, and we added a new characters. Basically, a Conan stories with the main character. It's basically an anthology book, and there's going to be 8 issues. this is for number 1, and the next one is going to be for number 2 and 3, 4, and 5. The reason why I'm doing that is because the rights are expiring pretty soon, so I had to rush, and they're already finished, the books. So we're trying to get a different cover artists. Like I have a Stefano Cardoselli, who just recently won the Bram Stoker award for the one of the best graphic novels, I think. And many others. What else? So the story basically of the movie is the prince. They take away their kingdom, and he's recovering the kingdom. So
Okay, cool.
yeah.
So, Ozzy, are you offset printing these?
I'm sorry.
Are you gonna offset print these, or are you gonna POD?
I'm not sure on this one actually, because Jeremy, my partner, is doing that.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
I'm planning to do offset. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. No, listen. I mean, the book looks awesome. The Simon Bisley cover is great. Yeah, man. I like it. I backed it. So
Yeah. And I already have a publisher, but I can't name it right now. I'll wait pretty soon.
Cool, though. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So soon you'll be from indie up to mainstream, and then
Who knows?
Okay. Hold on. Mike, I'm gonna pull up your thing here.
Don't pull this thing.
There we go.
Right, yeah, wait, Mark.
Hey,
Nice.
careful with your thing. All right, there you go. That's for Rice Burroughs. So yeah, man, walk me through this. I mean, what is this? Because I've been seeing it online for a little bit. I mean, you told us a little bit about it, but fill us in.
Okay, well, Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote I Am a Barbarian. It's his only pure historical effort. He's, of course, well known for John Carter on Mars and Tarzan. So this is a lesser-known novel. It did come out with a cool Boris Vallejo cover back in the 70s, but has actually never been reissued since then. And still hasn't. The novel has not. But we did adapt this in the form of a webcomic for the Edgar Rice Burroughs people. And it ran as a strip anywhere from, it was weekly, but they pretty much, I think, put it up at the rate that I produced it, which was anywhere from 3 pages to 12 pages a month, depending on what else I had going on and how big a paycheck I needed at the end of that particular month. So it was a really, really good, flexible way to work, and it got the project done. It is a historical story, an epic is what I meant to say. It's a historical epic, and what happens is it starts with some following a tribe of Celtic warriors who, including their king, who have been chased out of their lands and captured by other Celts, and ultimately sold as to make sold to the Romans, so they could bring them home and impress everyone by executing these Celtic king and his family and tribe. However, young Caligula steps up, points his finger at young Britannicus, and says, "I want." And young Britannicus, grandson of Celtic king Siguratrix, becomes slave to Caligula, who, as a spoiled little Roman brat child, and basically spends his life alongside Caligula and his unlikely rise to become emperor. And not to give away too much of a spoiler, but as Britannicus watched his magnificent parents led off to be executed by these weak Romans and their decadent society, he vowed that someday he would kill a Caesar. So there's basically the conflict, and it's really cool. We spent a long time on their childhood years, so a good portion of the strip is following young Caligula in his little military outfit, and young Brit, and the mischief that they get into, and it's actually pretty fun. And then it kind of evolves towards grimmer, bloodier, more violent scenes as Caligula ascends to the emperorship and descends into madness.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
The art is amazing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's over 200 pages, so it ended up being quite a volume. Definitely the longest graphic novel I ever did, and it's all. I did the colors as well, digital colors, which I hate doing. So it's torture.
So, how long did it take you to complete the work? Was it like 2-3 years?
It was probably at least like just over 4 years, I think. From page one to the final page. My collaborator was calling it a 6-year project, so it may actually have even been running a little longer than that. Yeah, really got used to it. It was nice to always, whatever other drought of freelance was going on, I could always go back to trying to make some headway on I Am a Barbarian. So it was actually kind of cool to have as a project, a paying freelance project, long running, with such a generous amount of time allowed to complete it.
Is there a reason why they won't reprint it as a novel, or just one of the?
Oh no, I don't think there's any particular reason. Probably just assumed lack of interest. If it's not Edgar Wright, if it's not, if it's not John Carter or Tarzan. I don't think that they can feel that they can guarantee sales. So hopefully this will renew some interest in the novel, and maybe they'll do a reprinting of it. But yeah, I think it's just that their cash cow is Tarzan,
Right.
with a backup of John Carter, and the other stuff is less fun.
Nice.
Is it selling good?
It's I keep on having to reassure the publisher. As I've mentioned, he put a lot of his own money into getting this out and having it be a deluxe edition. It sounds like it's doing just fine. But obviously because it's such he did do Offset that came in from China and did do an entire print run. He basically needs to sell them all to make his money back and hopefully a little profit. But I think it's a relatively small print run. It's being very, very well received, and they spared no expense in design and printing. I think it'll do just fine. But he's definitely going to be a little tense until he, I think, crosses maybe the 2/3 mark on getting units moved.
All right. Mm-hmm. Listen, man. I mean, that's why it's funny. I saw this. This is one of the reasons I asked you to come on. I was like, this looks really interesting because mostly we do Kickstarters and Indiegogos, but I saw this and I was like, oh, this is really cool. A lot of people, as many people as can, need to know about it as possible.
I really appreciate it. It's a lot of people in the Edgar Rice Burroughs community are sitting up and taking notice, ordering the book. I'm in touch with a kind of an Edgar Rice Burroughs historian, archivist who's interested in buying the remaining original artwork from the book. And I hope that it really brings a lot more notice to obviously to my work, but also to the writers' efforts. And he just told me he's up for an honor from some sort of Edgar Rice Burroughs organization, but also told me to keep it hush hush. So nobody here talk about that. No, but yeah. So hopefully his status as a Burroughs scholar and mine as an illustrator will be much elevated by the existence of this graphic novel. And I don't know exactly what his legal arrangements with Edgar Rice Burroughs is, but hopefully this will also open the doors one way or another to a wider distributed popular edition, and of course some foreign editions where I think where the real interest may lie.
Nice. That's really cool to have, especially have a story that's kind of lost, to have it come back in a graphic novel form. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. I've always had a passion for the Classics Illustrated format of comics. I've read tons of them from all the different eras. Always been wonderful work. And yeah, it's one of those things, sometimes when you're working on a long graphic novel, you'll get these moments of like, oh man, this is really, especially if it's your own creation. And sometimes when it's somebody else's, moments of like, why am I really doing this? Is there any point? Is this derivative? Does the world really need this? And having it be based on this sort of established classic with already its own pedigree of why it exists and a history behind it. I think that it as an added inspiration of that I'm helping to bring this back and make it to immortalize it. It's already immortalized, but to sort of immortalize it further and get it out to a new audience. So yeah, I really dig that. And in fact, with Oddness Publishing, Forbidden Futures, we're looking into doing into the public domain and looking into me doing some other illustrated classics through them.
Nice.
Cool. Wow. Mr. Wynn.
Yes, sir.
What have we got here?
So we've got the
new backer. Yay.
Check it out. 90% now. Awesome.
Yep.
So the Kickstarter for the first 4 issues in trade format, including 2 one-shots and a one-cut.
Nice.
So if people who don't know what the Edge is a drug that can give you special abilities, but can either cost you your life or your sanity.
You want me to play the video?
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All they know is that it's coming for you. They don't know if it's real. Top secret classified. But when it comes for you better run and hide. They don't know what it is and explain it. All they know is that it's coming for you. They don't know what it is and contain it. All they know is that it's coming for you. They all lame, stick in a Miranda him, Chip, Tandra. They all lame, stick in a Miranda him, Chip, Tandra.
Nice.
Now, were those people family and friends?
Yes. So it's always good to have talent in the family. So my cousin wrote and sung the song.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. Shit, she has a really nice voice.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool, man. I mean, you're doing great. You got 24 days to go. Shit. Yeah, You're doing fine.
Yeah. Well, I purposely did it so it would go up until it's at 91% now. It's 90%. So, but it's through Three Rivers Con, June 4th and 5th. We're actually going to start filming for the From Script to Store show, starting with a panel there.
Nice.
So that's just going to be a series where we're going to go over the whole entire blood, sweat, and tears of creating a comic book and then marketing it.
Oh, cool.
So you guys might, some of you might get a message from me asking you to be part of this venture. So it's going to not just be from my perspective. I want to get everyone's perspective, because just like having conversations here, no one has the same idea. It's all different. Everything's different. We approach things differently. We talk about things differently. We do things differently. So I want to get everyone's perspective on creation and marketing of books.
Cool. Now, who's your artist?
And I tell them every stream, I'm going to say your name one time, and then I'm going to go to Mark V. So it's Mark Louis Vukukiat is his name.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Where's
he's
he from?
been in the Philippines. He's been around since the late 80s, early 90s. He used to work with Don Chen.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, Mark and I, we've been working together since 2007. About, yeah.
How many issues have you done so far of the series?
15.
15. Okay, nice.
Impressive, yeah. So it's just an ongoing series. It's not a write for trade or
Well,
is it one shots or
yeah, it is broken into arcs. So
Okay.
4 to 5 issues per arc. So that allowed me to do. So we're right in the middle of the 4th arc of the story.
Gotcha. And the trade that you're releasing now, this is the first trade for the series?
Yes.
Cool.
With bonus material, the bonus material that's in this from the Kickstarter will not be available in the normal release of the book.
Oh, okay.
But that's what takes it up over the 130 pages.
Okay.
Nice.
nice, yeah.
Nice. Yes.
Are you planning on offset printing, or are you doing POD?
Well, the printer I work with gives me a really good deal. So I mean, whatever he's doing is working. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I get a good printing deal, so I can't complain.
All right. Well, we need to talk about that later. Thank you.
He wants me to give up my sources.
Well, I don't ask you. I just need some sharing. That's it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's all good, man. I don't keep anything to myself.
No, I don't. That's the one good thing about the community is like we don't just we're not all about just us. It's about sharing.
Yeah.
That's the one good thing. But yeah, man, the book is great. Like I said, I backed it. This is definitely something I suggest anybody to back. So, yeah,
we're like I said that we're trying to expand. I mean, we've already talked with like tabletop people, card game people. I mean, I've been like floating the video game thing around, but I mean, whatever comes along, man. There's so many different indie fields out there, and people are always willing to help. I mean, it's just shooting an email or making a phone call sometimes, and you're surprised about what things people are willing to help you with, or give you a deal on to get something done.
All right, cool. And like you said, you got another 24 days?
Yeah.
Yep, 24 days left.
The 16th at 5 o'clock is the 16th of June at 5.
Yep. All right, cool. I mean, you got plenty of time. Look, you're gonna make your goal probably in the next couple of days, and everything else is just gonna be salad after that. Nice.
Yeah. I was trying to be like my good buddy Brian Plato and get 10,000 in one day, but it didn't work.
Well, we should all be that lucky, right? All right. Now, hold on. I last but certainly not least, the man was there last night. I watched him, and he crushed his goal.
Yep. And it surprised me. 56 minutes.
Yeah, man.
The campaign before this, the last Amazonia campaign that I ran, we didn't cross that finish line until maybe like a week before the end. And then the campaign before that, it was the last day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, but you've been putting in the work, right?
Yeah, I've been noticing people
a lot of work,
a
lot of work to come into this one here.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I am very bad at is pre-promotion. That's one of the things. So this time around, I literally took over like 1.5 months to pre-promote, to get people aware that issue 7 was coming out. And kept getting people over to the launch page, showing pages, showing different stuff, and talking to not just only independent comics groups. I went and talked to people who buy all these online sales. And it's like, hey, I'm a comic collector like you, but I also create.
Gotcha.
Had some great conversations, and you saw it firsthand. And it's like, boom, out of nowhere.
Do you want me to play the video?
It's a 3-minute video if you have time for it. Yeah.
Hey, we got time. Joe, we always make time for you, sir.
Previously in Amazonia.
Well, this is it. My first day back. It doesn't feel any different from years ago. But people change, don't they? Oh well, I guess it is time to find out. Will people accept me now? Was it the right decision to leave LLD? Oh well, I am here. I just got to make the best of it.
With that said, welcome to your first and maybe last day here at FPD Squad. I'm Captain Turk, your boss. Detective Parsons is your backup commander to our unit. You probably already met some of the other members. This meeting was called to give you the speech I gave you. Also, Parsons will be filling you in on the next assignment later on today. However, you will be in full charge of this mission. If you are not successful, you are out of here. Got that? I have no room for wannabe Amazons in my squad. In the meanwhile, break in your office and get settled. You won't be here for that long. You two are dismissed.
That was Mayor Huntley. He invited me to tonight's gala. I couldn't get out of it. If someone recognizes me, then it's all over. I am not taking all the credit for this one. Meet me at this address at 8 p.m.
Well then, I am Tyler Charles. I am kind of a multifunctional businessman who has interest in many different industries, from communication to farming. I would like to just say that you two did good work out there today. One of the many industries I have interest is law enforcement. One of my companies builds and provides equipment such riot gear, bulletproof vest, and taser guns for the Angel Falls PD. In a way, I am overly concerned about our police.
Yes, we go a long way back. Actually, to grammar school, to be exact. Anyway, I see that your parents are here too. No? Silly, they're over there at that table.
I didn't try to step in front of them in defense of Terrence. However, the people wouldn't stop. They only called me names like everyone at the school does. But that didn't fix me one bit. I begged them to put an end to this and to leave him alone. But it didn't work. That when one of them pulled out a gun on Terrence and me, Terrence with little strength that he had begged me to let them be, it was worth getting shot. He begged me to let them do what they were going to do with him to keep me safe. But something in me snapped after hearing his plea.
And our lucky winners of the week are Welch and Lieutenant Masters. Unfortunately, you two got the easy task of escort duty. Lieutenant Masters and Welch have the distinct duty of escorting Tyler Charles. It was a special request that came through the mayor's office and the commissioner.
Excellent and ahead of schedule. Good work. Please give it to the butler. He has made arrangement to ensure safe arrival of the samples to Dr. DeHo's laboratory staff.
And now issue 7 of Amazonia.
I tried my best to treat it like a TV episode, episodic television episode. So that was the idea behind it.
Who does the voices?
There was a program that's out there that if you pay like a monthly fee, they have all these different people who narrate, and they got their voice synthesized in there, and you can select from like hundreds of different people.
That's interesting.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen that. I saw that. The different British accents and all sorts of different stuff for it. Yeah.
So we have like a Daphne Lage version variant, a Steph Curry version variant. We have an alternate by Victor Wilkins and everything to that magnitude. Yeah, that's the Victor Wilkins, and then the standard cover is the one above that one, which the one that was I drew here. And yes, I actually did the penciling and ink for these issues here. I do have a colorist that comes on to do kind of like the heavy lifting here, and then I still do like the lettering, penciling, inking, and we got sample. I actually show sample pages and everything for this as a whole here. So that's the whole creative team for this issue. And everybody writes their own bio. So it's like Daphne was like, here, this is everything that I've done from day one to everything.
Yeah, she'll do that.
Yes.
Steph, what the hell?
Yep.
Well,
that's all he wanted.
He has his website on this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then past interviews that I've done dealing with the Amazonia series as a whole, and the one granddaughter that the grandmother bought all 6 books, the first 6 books, and she read them in like a week, and she fell in love with the series.
Nice.
Very cool.
And those are the actual graphical samples. I removed the actual lettering because I didn't want to give away too much of the story behind issue 7. But I will say, 2 new characters coming to the fold in issue number 7, so that's the reason why this one is going to be pivotal.
Nice. All right, cool. I mean, you met your goal. You've doubled it, which is good.
And still, this hasn't even been a good 24 hours yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
Yes. Very nice. So, I mean, all right. So this is obviously issue 7. How many more issues? Do you expect?
This is an ongoing series. This is going to be an ongoing series.
Gotcha. And then, what's the frequency on release? Like, are you doing once a year, twice a year?
I'm trying to get to where I'm doing it either twice or 3 times a year.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I know you work a full-time job, so you're obviously doing this just on your spare time.
Well, that plus 2 other series on top of that. So I have Amazonia to do, as well as Primetime Saturday Night, and now since I have to take back over the artwork for AWF, that's 3 books that I have to take in consideration in 1 year.
Ooh,
now, when AWF was off my plate, normally it would be like either 2 Primetime Saturday Nights and 1 Amazonia, or 2 Amazonias and 1 Primetime Saturday Night.
Gotcha.
Busy guy.
Mm-hmm. I really like the Steph cover.
It's a great. Yeah, I was looking at that. It's really one of the best Steph covers I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I always like Daphne stuff. So there you go.
I'm happy she's doing humans again. Yes.
Yes. Well, it's not even like
at one time we'll never do humans. She would not do humans at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, she's gotten really good. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool. Yeah, man. Like I said, I backed it. It's one of those things. So I think everyone has had their thing shown. So you know what? I'm going to ask this question, right? Because let me see. I backed just about everything. The only thing I haven't got yet is Mike's book, which might happen soon. But I think I backed all the other 3 projects. So my question is this, guys: how many comics or campaigns is too many? Right? How do you budget yourself? Because I am a lifelong comic buyer. I mean, I have a big ass collection. I mean, I sold off portions of it. I probably still have 20,000 books, comic books. and I don't even buy comic books anymore. Not that much, only just from indie guys. I've been focusing primarily on trades, hardcovers, omnibuses. That's what I primarily get, and I have, I don't know, maybe 8 bookcases. I got a library, and I have other, like 8 other bookcases in the house, maybe 6. I don't know. There's a lot of them, but I got a lot of books. You know, I'm a degenerate when it comes down to buying these damn books. I need to stop. But so, what is too much? You know, like what's your budget? Like are you buying like $100 worth of books a month, $200 worth of books a month? You know, what are you guys into? What are you guys shopping? You know, what are you guys buying? You know, I think we were up to Ozzy.
When I was in Denver, I had a big budget, probably around $300 a month. I used to buy a bunch of them, and I used to also buy them on Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I move to the mountains, there's no comic book stores around here, so I have to order everything through Kickstarter or Indiegogo. And but my budget is a little less, and now I buy more like more different things, like prints or like signatures or stuff like that, more collectible stuff. But yeah, I still buy a lot. I support a lot of independent companies and books. Yeah. Well, about the same money, I guess, like 200, 250. It varies.
That's cool. Hey, listen, man. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like I said, budget. You know, you gotta keep it under control. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know where to store all my boxes anymore.
Yeah,
I have them on the floor because I can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no more shelf. No more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a similar issue where I'm looking to start selling big portions of the collection off because I don't have space.
Yeah,
I don't have space. You know, I stopped buying like statues and stuff because I really have no space for that stuff. You know, and I have quite a few, and it's just like no more space for it. So it's like even if I see something I like, I'm really hard pressed to buy it. You know, but Randy, how do you deal with it?
I have a basement. I have a full basement. The wife has a second story upstairs. She inherited all of her mother's library when she passed away. We made 3 trips to the local library donating books, carfuls of books, and she still has a large library upstairs on our second story. Down here, I have to buy another bookshelf because I've got so many books. The books that I buy, I don't have a budget. I have an account, usually out of my business account. It's all research, so it's all deductible, you know. But I'm down to getting books that I have to have. You know, when you see a book like I Am a Barbarian pop up and that you've never didn't know existed, and you're a big Burroughs fan, that's a book I have to have. You know,
glad to hear.
That's the way it works. So I've got bookshelves, but you're coming over in June. You'll see. So.
There, it'd be like Scrooge McDuck with his pile of wealth. He'll just be diving into the comics.
It's not. I don't dive into my books. No. Well, I do. I actually, honestly, I do. Only not the way Scrooge does. I don't have a big bank with them all piled up in piles. I do have bookshelves and what Daphne and JD like to call lots of book poops around the house. Yes. So, got a pile next to my bed that's got Jupiter's Legacy still sitting there waiting to be read. A couple of golden age Superman books because Joe knows why if he's read that Paragon book. I've got books sitting around me. There's the 3 Blaze Cimmerians volumes that
Those are
Beautiful.
great.
Have to have. I'm into the old pulp material, Howard and Burroughs and Shadow, Doc Savage, that kind of Spider, that kind of, and great old comics or art book collections. We got George's book here from IDW, just a beautiful volume, and Glenn's book for Jack Kirby that I was fortunate to write the forward for, and just books. Just books, but I don't have a set budget. I usually buy from Amazon maybe once every other month, and have them send me a box. That's about it. Or I keep saying on my podcast, I like hitting a lot of the comic shops around, especially a comic shop I haven't been to before, just to look through their back shelves, their back boxes, and see if there's something there that I can dust off and own. That I have to own. I know you've posted on Facebook pretty often of your comic buying.
Oh yeah.
Purchases all at once. But I like collections. I like books now. Very little what you would call floppies or regular comics, unless it's a book that I run across at a show, or I love going to conventions and finding the dollar boxes, the 75-cent boxes, and digging through looking for stuff I haven't seen before. But that's my buying. And I haven't been to any conventions lately, and I deeply miss it. But I will start going back again here real quick. But other than that, I got plenty to read.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, you used to own a store, right?
I retailed for over a decade, yeah. It wasn't my store, but I collected a lot of stuff during that time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've got the wife's got more long boxes than I do.
Nice.
And she's an avid reader. She'll zoom through an entire miniseries in like a half an hour, and I'm more of I'm retain stuff better, but I look, especially at sequential art, because I'm looking not just at the work but at the process.
Right.
At the time. So I think the last set of books I bought was the Sumerian Volume 3. I bought the first Ragnarok collection from Simonson, and there was a comic written book that was done by a Frenchman that C. Michael turned me on to. I think that was my last big box of books that came in. Yeah. But other than that, there's a I Am a Barbarian book that's going to have to be mine, and The Art of Carlos Escuera I found out is out that I will own. But,
yeah, I think that's in the previews this month.
Is it? Yeah, good. I'll have to call my retailer and get it from him. So,
cool.
That's really it. I try not to buy stuff unless I have to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some books that come out you just have to. The same thing with crowdfunding campaigns. There's so many crowdfunding campaigns out there that I have to buy. The ones that I get are the ones I have to buy into. I absolutely have to have roach balls.
Yeah.
That's just my sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else as we go along, I find stuff that I have to have and just buy it.
All right. Fair enough. Mike, what does your collecting look like these days?
These days, it's extremely dismal. I'm a demoralized, practically a reformed collector at this point. I've been making an effort to seek out and find comics that I absolutely must read for free online. I had to give up massive quantities of books and comics during my last move, and most of what I still own is either on loan with my friend or in a storage bin miles and miles, and it's in another country from where I am now. So at some point I kind of vowed that that maybe I should just stop, it had been a long time since I'd had a really, really good, like a budget and a regular purchasing schedule. I mean, it's definitely part of my DNA to be down on the floor, digging through quarter bins. We had a dollar store almost within walking distance of my place in Phoenix, and I lived in Phoenix for 7 or 8 years. And I think I hit the store maybe a dozen times, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But my core DNA says that should have been a place I hit once a week, maybe as many times as 5 times a week. Wouldn't want to miss anything coming into the dollar store. You know, I mean, I just didn't have the budget for it. I have 3 adult children. When I get Amazon gift cards, this sounds like such a martyr thing, but it saved the day so many times. I'll just get in hundreds of dollars of Amazon gift cards. I just leave them in there for the kids to buy their school books. When I buy everything I want, I get buried in books, and to be honest, I get apathetic about it. As I kind of trickle back in my base collection, the ones that I absolutely couldn't bear to give up. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, some of the things I gave up, I realized in retrospect that I couldn't bear to give up. But what's done is done.
That always works.
As they trickle in, I appreciate them on a level that I haven't in years. Some of the books that I owned and did not get rid of, for instance, Edgar Corbin. I got when Corbin died. I had to read a bunch of Corbin and didn't have any on me, and ended up rereading online multiple books I actually owned physical copies of, but didn't have in my possession at the time. I actually found that the reading experience online, while sometimes clunky, was often kind of cool because I was seeing the art and the line work blown up a bit larger than the standard reproduction. So I try not to think of myself as lacking in anything. In fact, I could read more comics for free than I ever could. I really miss the Phoenix Library and the San Diego Library. That's where I would really go to get my haul and bring home a big arm of comics. Many that I would love to have owned, many that I never would have purchased, but you know, especially mainstream stuff that I wanted to check out for free. So that's where over the last decade and a half or so, I've done most of my reading of graphic novels from the library. Nevertheless, I did manage to bury myself somewhat in comics during those little times when maybe a bit of money came in. At one point, I was elevated to full-time at the Academy of Art University. And I figured, hey, I'm a comic book professor. I'm at Comic-Con. I'll buy whatever the hell I want. And so I did have at least 1 or 2 years in there where I bought home a pretty big haul of comics. And the things I love to buy are anything Richard Corbin or Bernie Wrightson. I love following up on European comics. Bernay, stuff from Argentina. I lived briefly in Argentina and fell in love with the Breccias. I just love a lot of foreign comics, and of course Mobius, somewhere in there during whatever last little ill-advised buying spree I did. I acquired all 3 Inside Mobiuses, which of course I could probably resell now and easily recoup all the things that all of what I spent. And recently, as a Christmas gift, somebody got me Barry Windsor Smith's Monsters because it was in one of my want lists. So that, sort of fun to have a new comic. So every once in a while, accidentally something new will sort of come in. And also, occasionally I'll find something cool down here, like Corbin Hellboy in Spanish. That I own it. I own it in English, but it's in storage, and it's just kind of cool that it's in Spanish. Plus, because printing costs are lower here, the cover price about half of what I would have paid for it in the U.S. So it feels like kind of a bargain too. So every once in a while, I'll buy a comic book in Spanish. Living down here in Mazatlan, Mexico. But pardon?
Do you speak Spanish?
Not very well. I speak it theoretically. Given enough time, I can decipher most things in context. I can understand most of what's going on, and I have gotten through relatively simple exchanges speaking only Spanish. I fall into the category very loosely of semi-fluent. Please don't allow me to demonstrate. Don't ask me to demonstrate.
After work, I'm start asking you questions in Spanish. Because I'm from New York. I'm Puerto Rican, and my Spanish. We speak Spanglish. So
sure,
yeah.
That'd probably be a little easier for me.
Yeah,
it's
like I said, I'm really, really good at ordering dinner. That's what I'm good at.
Right.
Dame dos pollo, dame el bistec. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I've started sometimes. I just put my headphones in and hold out my list of what I want.
Right.
Let the cashier do the work. So I don't know. It's usually okay. I can get by the day by day. Some things are a little more complex. Sometimes you just get lazy. Ask our property managers to make a phone call for us, to order more propane. Little things that are just annoying on the phone. It'd be easy enough in person, but for some reason on the phone, when you can't see a person, the communication just doesn't happen. You know how it is. Was it Mark Twain said, visiting France, I've been trying and trying and trying, and I just can't get these people to understand their own language.
There you go.
That's a little bit how it is here. I'm like, I swear to God, I'm saying it right.
Marvin, what are your buying habits looking like these days?
I mean, I've slowed down from when I was younger, of course, because the comic shop's on the other side of town. But I mean, I stop in there pretty much. But I'm mostly just buying stuff with people that I know. Like they're getting on my people are getting money is going to people instead of those big giant corporations that don't care.
Gotcha. All right, nice. Mr. Lanning?
Depends on how many Tall Tales and Oswald campaigns you're going to be putting out. No, I don't have a budget. It all depends. I stay out at the comic book store until I have money to spend. I did, however, discover the 50-cent boxes, which is a plethora of different comics there. Not all necessarily good, but I mean, they're 50 cents. So,
yeah. Listen, man, sometimes you discover gold in those boxes. You'd be surprised.
That's right.
Oh, man. Yep. I found the best stuff in quarter bins back in the, late 90s? Holy.
Yeah.
Listen,
even at the dollar shop, they'd be selling stuff like a week after it was on the regular stands for full price. I'd be like, $1? It's awesome.
Yeah. If you really go scouring through some of these retailers, they don't even know what they have in their own bins. You can find keys that are worth $300-400.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, true. True.
Only we had the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is very true. Mr. Joe, what's your spending habits looking like these days?
There's a weekly get because of Comic Book Spectrum. As I do reviews each and every week, so there's at least a small little budget week to week, somewhere between like $15 to $25 a week. Sometimes it's not even that much, but there's at times where it's been 70, depending on what's coming out that week. But because of the comic book reviews that I do, it is a tiny bit of a budget there, but I have a tendency to overspend on what is considered investment books, and be in league with some other collectors in my area. It becomes like, okay, if I get this book for you, when you want to pay me back, type deal.
Gotcha. Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, for myself, I'm a degenerate. Like I said, I don't have a budget. I buy from a comic book company called DCBS, so everything's ordered online, and the discounts usually 30 to 50%. And I get a box every month of books, and it's like Christmas time every month.
That'd be incredible.
And it's like I said,
so jealous.
I'm sorry, man. It's just one of those things. But if you ever do get a little bit of cash, look at DCBS. A lot of their books, they're 30 to 50% off. I always tell everybody, I need to contact them. They need to start paying me.
Yeah, right.
So all right, John, we're at the 2-hour mark, so we made it to the end. So let's start off the way we started. Mr. Zim, where can they find you and your work, sir?
You can find me on Facebook under Randy Zimmerman. You can find me on Twitter a little more often than I have been as Randy Zim. You can always contact me at thezimcast@gmail.com. And I'm part of the Raging 2 podcast network, where I can co-host every once in a while, well, most of the time, at Dispatches from Beyond or from Outside the Box that C. Michael hosts. Then I host the Zimcast on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Sunday mornings, we run the Sunday Funnies at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we try to talk about the more fun and whimsical side of comics and more about our passion for this and love for this art form. So that's where you can find me.
All right, cool. Mike, where can I find you in your work, sir? Mike?
You can. We're rebuilding MikeDubisch.com. There might be something up right now, but it's we're under construction. It's going to be really awesome. Right now, this was constantly being updated and under construction, but it's always good to go. That's ForbiddenFutures.com. And that's where most of the excitement is going to be happening. But we're going to be linking it up with MikeDubisch.com and eventually peopletomeltintherain.com for the project the indie comic project I do with my wife Carolyn. And of course always on Facebook, and rarely on Twitter or Instagram, but I'm there sometimes. But Facebook's where I live. Come visit me there. I'll be hanging out.
There you go. And buy some artwork.
Buy artwork. Enjoy the artwork.
Marvin, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Yes, sir. So on Facebook and Instagram, it is at The Edge Comic. On Twitter, it's at Marvin Wynn. The website is theedgecomic.com, which is currently pointed at the Kickstarter.
All right, nice. Mr. Ozzy, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Any social network, like under Ozzy Longoria, Gemini Comics. You can find us, The Sword and the Sorcerer, also on Facebook. Check the Kickstarter campaign, and it's gonna be the second one is gonna be the 4 next books, and Mr. JD Calderon and Joe have a short story on those books.
Cool.
So we'll be promoting that soon, probably in the next 2 weeks.
Cool.
Covers by Stefano Cardoselli and a bunch of my covers too. And that's it. Just that.
Nice. Mr. Lanning, where can they find you and your work, sir?
As always, I'm Linktree/St. Michael Lanning, and on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Raging 2 Broadcasting Network, Dispatches from Outside the Box. And every once in a while, I'll pop my head in there, Zimcast on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. So check it out there.
Nice. Mr. Joe?
It's right there on the screen. All of my social media is right there on the link tree that you see up right by my name here. As far as projects, I'm out there on Kickstarter as of right now. Just to give a little quick plug here, I also got another article in Comics Unlimited, which is now on Amazon as of right now. So that's that's article number 3 that I did for them. So I have that out there, and Ozzy already told you about the upcoming Kickstarter for Sword and Sorcerer. So I'm a little bit everywhere. I'm just kind of like that hidden person away. It's like, don't look behind the curtain. Stuff is still getting done.
Yeah.
There you go. So you can find me here every Sunday, or just about every Sunday, because I do like to take the occasional Sunday off. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Indy Comics Explained. You can find me on Facebook, DeviantArt, Twitter, Instagram, all under JD Calderon, or theOswaldChronicles.com or TallTalesOnline.com. And can't keep a good mouse down. So within the next few weeks, there will be another campaign, but not before I fulfill the last one. So it'll be coming. It's coming.
All right.
Okay? So thank you, everybody. You guys are all awesome. People, go check out the links. I have everybody's links in the show notes. So go support all these different campaigns. They're all awesome. All right. So thank you so much, Mike, Marvin, Ozzy, Randy, Joe, Michael. Listen, always a fun
Thank
time.
you, guys.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah.